Hello, lovely people. Welcome to Handle Your Lemons. We took a little bit of a hiatus, just because I promised myself that, when I started this podcast, I promised myself that I wouldn't post things that didn't feel authentic or like if I wasn't there, to do that, I wouldn't. And I think it was just a really good reminder that healing is not linear, number one. Number two, life is going to come with seasons. There's good, there's bad, and I think it's not necessarily about being happy. It's more about finding out how to find joy even when things like aren't going as well. Because I will say, in these last couple of months, I've taken a lot of time to like reflect. I had a little bit of a housing crisis, and then I had some personal stuff happen, and then I did lose my grandpa last month. And I was really beating myself up about, not doing X, Y, and Z. And I kind of just had to remind myself that your best is enough. And as long as you're like, paying your bills and taking care of yourself physically, like to not put so much pressure. And I think that's been one of the most beautiful things too about creating the content that I do and doing the podcast that I do, because it's authentic to me and it's never something that I feel like I have to force. I think there's a lot of, creators on here who are forcing it. And while I understand where they're coming from, in the same breath, like that's not how I want to show up. And in that same realm of thinking, I was just contemplating how the past 8 years have gone. I think there is something so beautifully chaotic about your 20s, especially like this past decade with like the pandemic and just like I think about like 2017 versus now and how different things were. And I just think that it's wild to me to feel like I've lived so many different lives just from when I turned 20 to now, because now I'm 28, but tomorrow, well, I guess when you guys see this, it'll be the day of, but I turn 29. And so, in honor of that in Libra season, I wanted to talk about the 8 lessons, 20 to 28, that I learned during that specific time frame that I really feel like have shaped me. And I don't think that I would be who I am or where I am had those things not happened and had I not learned those lessons. Don't get me wrong, I would have loved to maybe have learned them not the hard way, but that's just like not always the way it goes. And like I said, I think everything had to happen the way that it did for me to make the moves that I did. So, without further ado, number one, everything is a phase. The good, the bad, the ugly. It's called seasons of life for a reason. You are going to go through things sometimes that are hard and terrible. And you're also going to have seasons that are full of accomplishments and love and beauty. I mean, there was my season of college, and then there was the season of the pandemic, and then there was a season where I got my heart broke, and then there was a season of finding out who I want to be now after quitting a bad corporate job. And then there has since been a season of like moving out of my hometown and seeing how I do living somewhere else. If I can give you no other piece of advice to do in your 20s, it is to move. Please, please, please move out of your hometown, even if it's just for a year, even if it's just a couple hours away. I promise there is so much more to life than those same 5 people in that one bar. I said what I said. That doesn't mean those people in that bar isn't wonderful and great, and it's okay that you love your home, but you will learn more about yourself and you will grow more in 6 months away from your hometown than you will 10 years there. and I will die on that hill. So again, everything is a phase, and there should be comfort in that. There really should be, because even if you're like, well, I'm in a good phase, maybe a good time, that doesn't mean a better phase isn't coming. That doesn't mean better stuff isn't going to happen. So having this mindset of everything is temporary is actually like really freeing, at least for me personally. I have never been lighter, like mentally and emotionally, until I adopted that concept and really like let myself feel like, okay, it's okay. Like there's a new phase coming. Okay. Number two, this is a hard one. Not everyone is your friend. They can act nice to your face. They can pretend to be there for you. They can even, say they're your friend, but they're not. The girl who likes everyone else's Instagram post but never yours, not your friend. The girl who's willing to sit at a table where you are talked poorly about, not your friend. The girl who's nice to everyone but doesn't ever stand up for anyone, not your friend. And that was one of my, oh my goodness. I went through a friendship breakup a couple years ago that I thought was going to just tear me in two. I couldn't understand. I thought these people really loved me. But what I learned is that the stuff, much like romantic relationships, the stuff you ignore in the beginning is the stuff that's going to bite you in the end. I heard her talk poorly about other people, still stayed friends with her. I noticed that she liked everyone's Instagram pictures but mine, still stayed friends. When my ex and I broke up, I couldn't help but notice that everyone suddenly needed to follow his new Instagram, but they knew what he did to me. Those weren't my friends. And those are people that I still have love for and still care about to some extent, but those are not my friends. And so I really urge you to take a moment and evaluate your circle. Are they supportive of you? Are they there for like not just the good times but also the hard times? Because I think a lot of times too we forget that to have a village you have to be a villager. You can't walk around expecting everyone to bend over backwards for you, but you can't even text someone back. Like you have to take some accountability as well. But what I learned is that even if someone puts on a front, not everyone is your friend. And that is hurtful and that sucks, especially if you thought the connection was genuine and deep. Like, I still get sad sometimes thinking about some friendships that have ended once I found out, they really weren't my friend. But it is better now that I was met with that and have the circle that I do now, because it is genuine and authentic and I know who's like truly there for me, than to keeping on with these people that just kind of wanted to play in my face. So again, I would really urge you to check on your circle and see how you're feeling, even if it's like little stuff, and just see how you feel. But yeah. Number three, this one's kind of niche, but I don't care what your background is. I don't care if you went to college, didn't go to college, but my advice to you is to change jobs, especially in your 20s. Change jobs and change jobs a lot. I have done everything but from being a manager at a gym to now running my own business. I've truly done it all, but I wouldn't know what I wanted to do or what I was good at had I not explored. I could have moved up at the gym company. I could have stayed at my corporate job that I was at last year. I could have done X, Y, and Z and stayed in my comfort zone, I guess, and like maybe made, a lot of money by now. But I'm happier because I'm doing something that I enjoy and something that I care about. And I wouldn't be here or be feeling that way if I had stayed stuck. So, like I said, college, no college, whatever, it's never too late to try something new. And changing jobs is good. It's good to get that experience, even if it feels silly. Like, I'm telling you, change jobs. Number 4. So I know that the pandemic affected everyone differently. But at that time, I was teaching full time. I was an acting teacher and I was bartending. And so when the pandemic happened and everything closed, I was alone like all the time. And at first, that was like really upsetting because I didn't really know how to be like alone in that way. Like, I knew how to not be in a relationship. I didn't necessarily have to like be dating someone, but I mean like alone in the sense of like alone with myself in a way that I didn't feel guilty about all the free time that I suddenly had. So I kind of took that and transferred that because learning to do things alone is the most freeing thing that I've accomplished in my lifetime. I mean, I went on a solo road trip. I moved out of my hometown solo. I love going to the movies by myself. I'll do pretty much anything alone except for like go to a festival because I don't know. But like, really, there's not much I wouldn't do alone now. But I never would have gotten there had certain events not happened. And then, there was a time where I was dating someone and they got deployed. So I had to like go from, spending almost every day with him to figuring out like, oh, what do I do with myself now? Like that he's, overseas. So like that was a really good learning curve for me actually. Like I had to figure out, how do I take myself on dates? How do I spend a Saturday, not bed rotting, but also by myself? Because the reality is that there isn't always going to be someone to go with you, and you will miss out on so much of your life if you don't figure out how to go do it yourself. If you don't figure out how to go do it alone. I'm telling you, start small. Start small. You don't have to do anything drastic and big. You don't have to do like a 40-hour road trip like I did by yourself, but like, I don't know, go to the movies. Take a walk in a new park. Try a class. I don't know. But try. Okay, number 5. And this one is going to be honestly kind of hard for me to talk about because ugh, when I was in my early 20s, I was incredibly insecure. And I kind of it felt like the only time I could get attention was from people that I shouldn't have been giving my attention to. And so the lesson of number 5 lesson is, you cannot build a healthy relationship on the foundation of another woman's tears. I'm going to say that again. You cannot build a healthy relationship on the foundation of another woman's tears. One of the biggest regrets of my life is letting a boy convince me that he and his partner were doing so poorly that it was okay for us to hook up. And that is on me. That is 100% on me. I should not have done that. If I could go back and shake 23-year-old me with everything in me, I would, because I know what it feels like to get cheated on. And while I would never cheat on someone, I did help someone cheat. And I did it because I convinced myself that he liked me and loved me and that we were going to build this like beautiful thing, but we didn't. All in all that ended up happening was that he cheated on me with someone else. And while my heart still breaks for the girl that thought she had to wait around for someone to love her, for someone to decide that he shouldn't fix things with his wife before he could date her, I feel so much regret and so much remorse for how I acted during that time of my life. Because she didn't deserve that. Nobody deserves that. And I did reach out and apologize to her. That's another great lesson that I think everyone should learn is how to apologize. But did it matter? I don't know, maybe a little bit, but you can't undo that. So if you are sitting there waiting around for someone to leave their partner to be with you, I'm telling you right now that that doesn't work. I'm telling you right now that foundation is so rocky that it's going to crumble, or they're just going to end up cheating. Or vice versa. If you are with a partner and you have someone like in your back pocket, stop. Stop that. Like break up with the partner first. It's just not right to lead people on like that, and it's not right if you know someone's with someone and you're interrupting that relationship. That's wrong. Like I said, that is probably one of the biggest regrets of my life. I learned a lot from it, and I think that whole situation made it so that I had to figure out how to love myself, as like cliche as that sounds. But I also will say this lesson, like you can't build a foundation on another woman's tears, applies to friendships too. If you are friends with someone only because you talk poorly about another girl, if you bonded because you both cut off the person that introduced you, if if your entire friendship base is based on hurting someone else, honestly, whether intentionally or not, that is not the flex that you think it is. And obviously there are circumstances where you have to distance yourself from someone, and I'm not even going to sit here and act like everything is black and white, but how any relationship starts is important. If it's not like genuine and from a place of like love and joy, like that's just like not it in the long run. You might get a couple good years, but I don't know. I think part of this lesson too is befriending the betrayer doesn't mean you're not going to be betrayed too. Very hard lesson. Easily the hardest lesson of my 20s. And if I could go back and do things differently, part of me says that I would. I would hope so, but that would involve knowing what I know now. And at the time, I did the best with what I knew. Okay, lesson number 6. Learn to set boundaries, but with kindness. I want everyone to use their listening ears when I say this, because setting boundaries is not about making someone act how you want them to. Setting boundaries is acknowledging someone's behavior and you acting accordingly. And you can set boundaries in a way that are kind. There is nothing that grinds my gears more than someone who's like, I'm just blunt. I'm just really honest. No, you lack communication skills and you lack empathy. And that's not cute either. That's not the flex that you think it is. So if you're like, oh, I'm setting a boundary, like, don't do this, blah, 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 blah. No, that's not the boundary. The boundary is, hey, friend, I love and care about you, but it makes me really uncomfortable when you do that. So if you are going to do that, I am going to remove myself. I'm not going to come to the party. I am going to X, Y, and Z. There is no reason to be nasty to someone, because I also think people think, oh, like they're setting boundaries, they don't like me anymore. I think if anything, when people are setting boundaries with you, it's because they care about you enough to try and save the relationship. I think that if the relationship was dead and gone to them, they wouldn't even bother with those conversations. But again, I still think there's a way to do that kindly. Number 7, and this is a big one, especially with this past year. Rejection is redirection. I'm going to say it again. Rejection is redirection. I promise you that if something is not working out for you, it's because there's something else that's for you. So, for example, before I moved to Florida, I was looking to buying a house in Ohio. I was I was like, I want to buy a house. I'm ready to own. I was seeing someone at the time. It just felt like I was like, okay, nothing worked out. I mean, granted, the housing market it was trash nuggets 2 years ago, but I mean, it was one of the most miserable experiences I've ever had. And I kept trying to force it. I kept trying to be like, it has to work out this way. It has to work out this way. Blah, blah, blah. No, it didn't. Because I promise if I had bought that house just for me and said person to break up, I would have been financially unwell and stuck in a house I didn't want to be in. And I never probably would have left Ohio. I would probably still be there because I'd be like, oh, I just bought this house. I can't leave now. Like, and in the moment, that felt like the world was crumbling down. I literally couldn't fathom why the universe was doing me like that. I couldn't understand why something that, so many other people had, I couldn't have. Well, it's because that wasn't the universe's plan for me. That I was meant for bigger things, and bigger things meant leaving where I was, which I wouldn't have done if I still had that friend group, if I had that house, if I was still in that relationship, if I still had that job. Those roots had to be like literally lifted out of the ground for me to evolve the way that I have and for me to be the person that I am now. And in the moment it sucks, and you're even allowed to feel sad about it. I don't want to sit here and say that like you're not allowed to feel sad. You are absolutely allowed to feel sad. But what you're not allowed to do is be so immersed in that sadness that you're not ready for the next opportunity or ready to keep trying. If everyone knew their path and everything worked out for you, can you honestly say that you would be happy? Because there are so many times I can look back in my 20s and be like, thank God I didn't get what I wanted. Thank God that didn't work out because that would have been a disaster. So yes, not getting something hurts and sucks sometimes, but like also it truly can be, like they say, like a blessing in disguise. So trying to evaluate these times where you're not getting what you want, the job, you've been single a while, the opportunity, the finances, take a deep look at the other things that are happening in your life and why that might be, and then look within yourself and decide, is this something I really need to pursue right now, or are there other things that I should be focusing on? And that's up to you. That's your own conversation. That's your own will being, whatever God's may be. But everything that's like meant for you is gonna find you. Like, and I do truly believe that. I think that we can jump timelines. I think that we can, you know, leap into different stories, but I do think that the story that we're in will find us the way it's supposed to. And number eight, which this one ties back into honestly all of these. Life is not fair. It's not. Um, I think really good people get dealt bad hands. I think that there are parts of the world that are in such turmoil. It is hard for me to even wrap my head around. I think that friendship breakups hurt just as much as romantic breakups. Life's not fair. But the one thing I will say, if I have learned anything, it is that you cannot outrun karma. Eventually, and it even happened to me, but eventually you will reap what you sow. You cheated on your partner? Well, that next relationship is probably not going to work out. You cheated on that test? Well, you're probably not going to get the job that you want. You cut that person off in traffic? Well, don't be surprised when a week later you have a flat tire. I've seen it happen so many times, like I said, with me, with others, even just like around the world. Like, the energy that you're putting out is the energy that's going to be returned to you. And like I said, life is not fair. Life is not. And we make choices and decisions in moments that are sometimes out of character. We do things that like we know better than to do, but you're gonna pay that price eventually. And I think the growth and the kind of twisted beauty that comes with that is that first of all it works both ways. Like you help that old person cross the street, you're gonna find $1 on the ground. You were honest with yourself about your capabilities, a better job's gonna come. You left that relationship, but you did it in the kindest way you could. Well, your soulmate's probably right around the corner. So I think that's the first kind of part of it is that there is a beauty in that there is good karma, bad karma, even neutral karma, I would argue, but that's a whole different thing. But I think the other part of it is like I said, there's no running from it. Like you can't outrun what you're owed. You can't outrun what you've done. But you can learn from it, accept it, and just try to be better. So that's my 8 lessons by 28. My 20s have been beautiful and chaotic and hard, and been a lot of bad days, but there's also been a lot of really beautiful days. And I am really excited to see what 29 brings, kind of like the final hurrah of this decade of my life. But I do truly think that my 30s are going to be where I pop off. Like I'm doing okay now, but I think my 30s I'm going to like really, really snatch it up. So I don't know though. We'll see. But on that note, follow us on Instagram at Handle Your Lemons, and just keep doing what you're doing. With life's gonna give you lemons, and well, we're all just at the lemonade stand doing our best. So I'm proud of you. I hope that things are going well, and leave me a comment or whatever. If you feel like there's a lesson you've learned in your 20s, or not even in your 20s, that you feel like everyone should like kind of know and understand more. And I will see you guys next month.